So I'm sure a lot of people have seen the new update, whether it be through a content creator or somebody else talking about it in the comments of like YouTube or TikTok. But I'm sure you already know Circle of Healing, Dead Hard, and healing times are getting a big nerf on the survivor side. And I see a lot of people worried that this is going to make the game like way too killer-sided, but honestly, realistically, these changes are just reactive on the devs' part and kind of symptomatic of a bigger issue, which I think it all ties back into how the meta is stale, and it's because developers are balancing the game around solo queue experience and kind of ignoring the main thing that they should be fixing, which is they need to be reworking how generators and the objectives work. Because it's really frustrating on both sides when like one person gets chased for 90 seconds and then the three other people that, for whatever reason, like either the person being chased didn't lead the killer by the gens or whatever else, but three people sitting on a gen, on three separate gens, while one person's getting chased, you lose almost half the objectives at the start of the match. And this could be for any number of reasons, you know? Either they're running brand new parts, they're running toolboxes, they're doubling up on gens. Like, gens go fast. And I don't think it's the survivor's fault. I don't think it's the killer's fault for not putting enough pressure. I entirely blame the developers for building the meta at this point. Like, we're almost, like, what, 6-7 years into the game? And we're still having issues with, like, oh, this game's killer-sided, oh, this game's survivor-sided. Realistically, the game, it's just got shitty balancing. Because look at the way the generators work. You know, you have these 5 objectives that all you have to do is you walk up to them and you hold M1 until they're completed. And then every now and then you hit like a singular skill check. And if the killer's not running any perks to like mess with the skill checks, it's just, it's basic, it's boring, it's stale. And the only thing survivors or killers can really do, on the survivor side, you have to run perks like stakeout and hyper focus to just finish these as quick as possible. And then maybe you can get into some chases like once you complete all 5 gens and rush through them as fast as possible. And on the killer side, you have to hold these gens for as long as possible. So what do? You run slowdown, you run pain res, you run jolt, you run call of brine, you run eruption. And it leads to these like really problematic metas where, you know, killers are running full gen regression and survivors are just gen rushing as fast as possible. And then it leads to like this shitty patchwork. Like, the developers aren't solving the issue by nerfing Dead Hard or Circle of Healing or the healing times. They're just completely ignoring the fact that generators, like the whole meta is balanced around this whole the game is rock, paper, scissors right now. Like, every time the developers try to come out with a new patch fix or whatever, they're not actually fixing an issue. They're just saying, look, we made a new perk that does this for you. And that, it's just not effective. The developers, they're just like, oh, don't worry, we made a new perk, so it's not an issue anymore. Because that's what happened with hyper focus, when I think it was like some gen regression meta, instead of actually fixing the game and saying like, oh, you know, we'll figure out some way to like fix it and make it so that this isn't a problem anymore. They just release some perk, and it just feeds back into that rock, paper, scissors cycle of the game, where it's just a never-ending issue of, oh, you run X perk to counter Y perk, and everyone's running Y perk because you can't run anything else, because that's how stale the meta is. And it's really frustrating, because perks, they really should just be, like, they should just encourage niche playstyles and unique gameplay, but instead it's just the exact same thing every single match, where it's like, hold the gens as hard as you can, or end chases as fast as possible. You know, it doesn't invite unique and interesting gameplay for both sides. It's just the same exact thing every single match, and it leads to these really shitty like metas where, you know, solo queue suffers because everyone's just leaving the match. Like, I put a gameplay in the background where it's just everyone's leaving because the second they get caught, they're like, oh, you know what, I just don't want to do this anymore for whatever reason. And it's frustrating, because like, what are killers supposed to do? Are we supposed to play in a way that like only survivors want to play, or are we supposed to
I was
like
really hoping you
we're supposed to
would've seen- I
cater?
should've
Like,
gone to the right.
what do we
I'll
do?
check that.
And what do survivors do? You know, it's so frustrating because at the end of the day, it's survivors are blaming the killers and killers are blaming the survivors. But it's like this is the developers'
Find a
problem.
villain, man.
They are doing a shit job at balancing the game, and they're just letting the community go at each other's throats about it, while they're just saying, "Oh, look at all this! Look at all the money we're raking in because we released a new skin for Rebecca or whatever the fuck." And it's just so shitty. Because at the end of the day, it's really the developer's fault whenever something's wrong with the game. But everyone wants to blame the player base for using the tools that they're given by the developers. And it's...
Bro. Come on,
I think
what
people need to hold the
DC?
developers more accountable for actually balancing the game and fixing the core issues that are leading to these shitty metas. But, yeah.